بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم سيدنا محمد خير الخلق أجمعين وعلى آله وصحبه الغر الميامين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Brothers and sisters, we bear witness that there is none worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is his prophet, messenger and servant. So here we are again, inshallah, with the 9th episode of our Islamic Soundbites, coming every Sunday, where we try to make some remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We try to seek knowledge, share knowledge, and as well benefit from each other when it comes to our religion, Islam. And today, inshallah, we'll be speaking about something that relates to us as people who are living in a non-Muslim country. And since we have friends who always ask us and tell us to recommend such a place or such a country that is non-Muslim to migrate to go and live there, and whether for the sake of studies or whether for the sake of work. So today, inshallah, based on my experience, some of the brothers' experience, the masjid's experience, we try to share some of the pieces of advice that every Muslim, whether he already came to this country or whether he is intending to visit such a country, non-Muslim I mean, he must take these pieces of advice into consideration, because this is the things by which, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he can preserve his religion. This is the thing that's going to kind of put a shield between him and the temptations of life, especially in a non-Muslim country where we are, or where other brothers are in non-Muslim countries across Europe or across the whole world. So basically, many of our friends always ask us, whether our cousins, our close friends, people that we know, they ask us that they are thinking of leaving their countries. It's whether because there is this economic distress, there is not much jobs, unemployment, they want to continue their studies abroad. These things, they happen to most of us, I believe. And whatever the reason, I think there are some things that we should take into consideration when recommending people to leave their home countries. And here we will be sharing 5 pieces of advice, 5 recommendations, 5 instructions, let's say, that anyone must bear in mind when attempting such a step, because it's a very important thing. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has spoken about it. He has spoken about people who live in non-Muslim countries. He has spoken about how this can be influencing and impacting one is religion, one is culture, one is principles. So we needed to make this reminder. So the first thing among the 5, brothers and sisters, is to stick to the Jama'atul Muslimin, to stick to the group of Muslims. If you intend to leave to a non-Muslim country and live there, study, work, or whatever, you have to make sure that in that country you stick to the group of believers. Because by nature, by natural disposition, human beings tend to feel this sense of belonging. And whether you are amongst the straight people, whether you are amongst the straightforward people, the righteous ones, the pious ones, as we mentioned in the previous Islamic soundbites, or whether you are amongst the deviant people, the sinners that do not care much about their religion. So it's whether you are among the good people or the bad people. And this is why Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in one hadith, he said, عليكم بالجماعة فإنما يأكل الذئب القاسية. Stick to the group, stick to the jama'ah, because the wolves, indeed, they kind of eat from the sheep what is outside of the group. So this is how shaitan basically tries to take one of us outside of his religion, outside of his, let's say, principles and traditions. Shaitan does not come to someone who is always among 5, 10, 20 brothers who are in the masjid, making remembrance, increasing their belief and faith and yaqeen in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shaitan will always come to the person who is always alone, who does not seek knowledge, who does not stick to the group of the Muslims, and then start to whisper let's say, temptations in his head, in his mind. He will start to tell him, why don't you try this? Why don't you just try once? Maybe alcohol is a good thing. Why don't you just go for once with that girl? Maybe it's a good thing that you have not ever tried. And then, since that brother, he does not have people to remind him that this is a sin, a great one, something that he should avoid, he might, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, may Allah forbid, fall in that. And once that happens, it's very, very, let's say, difficult to bring him out, to take that brother out, because he has indulged in that temptation, he has indulged in that desire, and then it becomes difficult to take him out. So the first advice, stick to the group of Muslims, stick to a group of believers that help you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and remember His commandments and things to avoid. Then the second thing, let the first thing you look for when you go to a non-Muslim country for the sake of studies or work, let it be the masjid. Let it be the place of prayer. Why is that? Because the masjid, the mosque, is known to be in Arabic al-Jami' or al-Jami', meaning the place that gathers the Muslims, the believers. And in a non-Muslim country, brothers and sisters, you should know that people who come to the masjid most of the times are righteous people, are people who would love, would like, and they want to get near, close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are people who love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And in such countries where the number of Muslims is very, very few, if you find someone in the masjid, it's very likely that he wants that peace. He wants to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because doors of haram, doors of forbidden things are very open. He can find them anywhere, but he decides to come to the masjid. Why is that? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided him first. Second of all, because he has the intention to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and abide by His rules. And in this regard, there is a hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If your sohbah, your companions, your companionship, your comrades, your friends are from the masjid, then you will most probably be like them. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Al-mar'u ala dini khalilih, falyanzur ahadukum man yukhalil." Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "A person is upon the religion of his friend." So let any one of you know whom to take as companion, as friend. So you should be taking good friends, pious friends, righteous ones who fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that they can increase your belief, and shaitan will not find easy doors to open to get into your heart. Third thing, and which is very important, seek knowledge. Try to know as much as you can in your religion. Try to know as much as you can about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Try to know as much as you can about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Try to know as much as you can about the Sahaba, the companions, radiallahu anhum, and those who followed them in goodness. Why is that? Because the more knowledge you have, the less you will be prone, the less you will be open to have uncertainty in your religion. Because again, when it comes to knowledge, the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, "Man yuridillahu bihi khayran yufaqihu fid din." Whosoever Allah wants good for him, He will make him, or He will give him understanding of the religion. So it is upon you to try to find that way by which you can seek knowledge, so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens doors of goodness for you. And once you have understanding of the religion, and most importantly understanding of the aqidah, the creed of the Salaf, the methodology of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions, it will be very unlikely that by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, that your belief or your faith will shake. It will be firm, it will be strong, it will be solid, that you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created you. You know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created you for a purpose. You know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not created us in vain. You know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in order for you to abide by His rulings, He has sent down prophets. So He has sent down a message, and He delivered it by the angels to the prophets, and the prophets have taken that duty to deliver the message to you, so that you live in goodness in this life, you live in tranquility, you live in conformity with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His prophets have legislated, and then you can have this, let's say, solid belief, solid faith that whatsoever let's say tribulations and tests come, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you become and you stay firm in front of those. And one small advice here, very important: if you do not have much knowledge, try to stay as much as you can away from suspicions. Whether it is a video that you watch online, whether it is a friend that has some suspicions, always spitting them out, whether it is watching those kind of debates that might leave you, let's say, doubtful, these things are very dangerous. This is why long time ago the Sahaba and the scholars, they used, if they pass by people of innovation, people who always throw out suspicions. Ibn Sirin, for example, he used to say that when I pass by people of innovation, I put my hands in my ears. Why is that? Because he doesn't want to hear that. Even though he is a knowledgeable person, but such things, by the power of Satan, by the power of Shaitan, they can settle in your heart, in your mind, and then they can lead you astray. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbid. So it's very important to try to seek as much knowledge as possible, and stay as much possible away from suspicions and doubts, so that you keep your religion, let's say, safe and protected from heresies and from doubts. If that happens, if a suspicion settles in your heart, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, may Allah forbid, may Allah guide the soul and keep us away from suspicions. If that happens, you should know that the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect. This Quran, this Sunnah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down to us is perfect. It has no contradiction. And if that happens and you have a suspicion or doubt, try to go out and seek an answer for that from one of the scholars of the Muslimin, the Muslim scholars. Why is that? And why I'm saying that? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in the Quran, in Surah An-Nisa verse 82, do they not consider the Quran carefully? Do they not reflect upon the Quran? Had it been from other than Allah, they would surely have found therein much contradictions. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making this challenge to the people. If you ponder upon the Quran correctly, then if it was from someone other than Allah, you would have found much contradictions of the Quran. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down the religion, has sent down the Quran, and He said, He promised to preserve it. And He has made and put scholars to answer doubts and suspicions and questions. If a doubt kind of settles in your mind, go seek an answer for it with an open heart, with sincerity, with pure intention, and inshallah you will find an answer for it, and you will be let's say this will make you kind of comfortable. This will make you tranquil when you find answer to these, because doubts and suspicions are kind of bad for one, because they will make you unsettled, unsure, uncertain. But once you seek answers for these, you will have a stronger iman, you will have a stronger faith, and then you will, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be certain of your religion. Fourth of things, brothers and sisters, do not be amazed, do not feel this inferiority complex when you visit non-Muslim countries. Why I'm saying this? Because a lot of people actually, why they leave their religion, why they kind of find these suspicions and have these doubts, is once they travel to these countries, they find that, these countries, they have a very solid, very good, very developed infrastructure, and then they start to doubt their religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in the religion that the believers and the Muslims are the ones victorious, the ones that going to have this beautiful life. But this kind of stems from this kind of inferiority complex and being amazed and then leaving the religion. It comes from a misunderstanding of what a sweet life, what a happy life means. Happy life doesn't mean good infrastructure and developed railways and developed I don't know, economy. No. There are countries that have this, but suicide rates are very high, and there are countries who are living in war. But when you see how these people are very strong and very solid, you become amazed. Actually, people are turning to Islam and reverting to Islam because of this, especially with the recent incidents, with the recent genocide and war that is happening on our brothers and sisters in Gaza. May Allah make them victorious and lift this calamity over them. So and yeah, I want here to remind you of one thing, and myself as well, that Uthman ibn Affan, he said one thing. He said, "Inna Allah la yaz'u bis-sultani ma la yaz'u bil-Quran." We should know that the underdevelopment, the economic problems that we face in Muslim countries are not because of the religion. They are not because we are sticking to our religion and to the Quran and the Sunnah. It's actually the opposite. It's happened because we have not been let's say holding that rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Uthman ibn Affan, he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changes with the sultan, with law enforcement, with the rulings and with the law, what he doesn't change with the Quran. Why is that? Because someone can be a pious person, he can read the Quran and everything, but strong belief doesn't mean law enforcement. It doesn't mean that this person is going to abide by the law. So it's very important to know that such countries are reaching such a level of economic development because there is law enforcement. And if this doesn't happen, you will see what happens in times of calamities and war. Their morality shows in times of crisis. And you can see, for example, when it comes to the protests and sometimes these kind of manifests that happen in non-Muslim countries, you will find how actually they start to destroy shops and they start to steal things and everything. Because these are the times where they find the chance to manifest their let's say true selves inside. There is no law enforcement, things get out of control, and this happens. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anyways to guide our people, to guide us, to guide the Muslim leaders to make our countries better economically, socially, religiously, and all other aspects. Fifth thing, brothers and sisters, to take into consideration is to try to be careful when it comes to halal and haram, to the permissible and impermissible, to the forbidden and to the allowed. Because, and this relates to whether in your food, in your job, in your clothes, everything. Why I'm saying this? Because in non-Muslim countries, these things are very widespread. You might find food with gelatin, which is made of pork. You might find foods that are made with alcohol. You might find clothes that do not comply to the Islamic rulings. You might find jobs that actually do not comply to our teachings. And in this case, you should try to strive to, as much as possible, to find what is halal. Always check before you buy that product, is it halal or not? Always check before you apply for that job and get that offer, is it halal or not? Does it serve something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not pleased with? Does it serve something that is not compliant with the Sharia law? And why I'm saying this, because there is a hadith that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, "Inna Allah tayyibun la yaqbalu illa tayyiba," meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sweet and He does not accept anything but sweet things, meaning things that are halal, things that you did not get by stealing or by riba, interest, things that are not haram, and try to avoid things that are suspicious. Okay, there is this thing that has a very low level of, alcohol, for example. The Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, "Al-halalu bayin wal-haramu bayin." Halal is clear, haram is clear, and between them are things that are suspicious. And whoever leaves the suspicious things, he has maintained and protected his religion. So it's better to leave these things based on the hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Last but not least, brothers and sisters, number 6, be careful from the trials of women. Try as much as possible to strengthen your faith, to be strong in front of the tribulations and trials of women. Why I'm saying this? Because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in the hadith, "ما تركت بعدي فتنة أضر على الرجال من النساء." Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, "I am not leaving behind me a more harmful trial for men than women." So it's natural in human beings. It's something that is in our inclination to be attracted towards women. This is why actually we're here to kind of worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then get married. Men are attracted to women and women are attracted to men. However, if you can come to these countries married, it's better to do so. If you do not at least follow what we have mentioned before, to stay away from this fitna, from this trial, because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned that this is the most harmful fitna and trial to men, which is the fitna of women. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in the hadith, "O young people, if you can get married, then get married, because it is good for guarding one's chastity and as well good for lowering one's gaze. If you cannot, then resort to fasting, because it will be a protection from sins." So it's two things. It's whether you get married and come to this country, or whether you come to this country and do a lot of fasting, so that you keep yourself away from these trials of women. And as you know, you look behind you, you look in front of you, you find what is haram. You look to your left, you see what is haram. You look to your right, you see what is haram. So it's very important to remind ourselves with the worship of lowering one's gaze, not seeing what is haram, and using our sights in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to basically make us strong in these countries, to keep us firm, to give us certainty, and to basically open doors of halal for us and close doors of forbidden things, things what are haram. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us sincere in speech and acts, and we seek refuge in Allah from riya, from showing off, and from things that He does not like. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.